This cell is incredibly complex. It's so complex that, we're going to show you a little graph in a moment, that it could not have had happened by time plus chance. This is an interesting machine. It's a, is this a bacterioflagellum?
Yeah.
It's a motor. It's amazing. This thing's a motor. This is an example of molecular machines. There's tons of them. Here's another example. It's just, this is amazing. These things are amazing. Darwin said in his own book, if you find any problems with, if you cannot find, actually I'm not even going to get to the quote. He just basically said that to believe that the eye could have evolved by chance seems absurd, or to the highest degree. And then he goes on to say, well, it did occur. Hold that question, please. I would love to, because I want to just finish up because I know you have some questions. You go from nothing to an eye would be a very big jump. Darwin proposed a gradual process. That's a just so story. There's no evidence of it. Finish up here. The bombardier beetle, fire-breathing beetle. The thing, out of its tube of its back, it has these two chambers, and it can basically take these two chambers and it mixes them together, and it shoots out of its tail a noxious gas at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. How did that thing evolve? The thing would have blown up the first time it tried to fend off a predator. But it has these two tubes, and when it's attacked, it can shoot them up. And you got to see it, people. Have you ever seen it? Has anybody ever seen this in slow motion? A bombardier beetle? Who's ever heard of it? Okay, what do you hit? Like that, right? You have to see it in slow motion. Have you seen it in slow motion? It's like a machine gun. Isn't it amazing? So the beetle, it's like a machine gun shooting out this. It's amazing. I got a video in it. Okay, ID observations. ID confronts naturalistic philosophical underpinnings of evolutionary thinking, and it basically is supported by science. It does not assume a young universe, and identifies presuppositions of naturalism. I think it's an alternative theory to Darwinian evolution. Should it be taught in public schools? I believe in critical thinking. I believe that in those lines you started with presuppositions, and both academic and intellectual freedom are at stake. I don't know about you people, but I want academic and intellectual freedom, don't you? You're free thinkers, right? It's the height of bigotry to teach only one theory of origins. That was spoken by Clarence Darrow in the Scopes trial. And now what's happened? We're teaching one theory of origins. Again, there is no known natural law through which matter can give rise to information. Neither is any physical process or material phenomena known that can do this. It's a book by In the Beginning by Bernard Gitt. The guy's an information scientist, excellent resource. Again, if it looks designed, maybe it is. Here's another great example. John, let's show him that, if you make one comment of that. I want to show you guys something, because John's going to do a closing comment here. Believe me, I'm sorry if I went quickly, but we're running out of time, and I'm a passionate guy. You get to know me, okay? I love science, okay? I love to read, and I just love to get into this stuff and talk about these things.
Darwin said, when you think of Darwin, think of a 19th century scientist who believes that the cell is a blob of jello made up of amino acids and proteins. Okay?
Somebody close, turn this off.
Now,
No, it's off.
Darwin himself said, if complexity be discovered, my theory collapses on itself. This is a cell. Does anybody see complexity?
DuPont Laboratories. We called these guys up years ago and told them we were doing something on creation, and they sent it to us for free.
Now, think of this. Within the cell, it imports raw material. It assembles amino acids and proteins. Proteins are bent into specific shape to do a specific task. Another protein transports that new protein to the place that it is needed to do its job. This is an assembly plant. This is a manufacturing plant. This isn't a blob of jello.
Darwin had an extreme misconception of the cell. We do know that. For those who read the book, Darwin's idea of the cell and back then was so incomplete. evolution theory in crisis, Michael Denton, he talks about the cell, he's a microbiologist, it's amazing, the quotes about the cell.
This chart is the chemical processes that take place within a cell.
What's that?
You just want to hold that?
Okay?
Oh, okay.
I'll leave this on the table here if anybody wants to look at it. But believe me, these were not done up by a creationist. As Richard said, you can't hold the laws of science to be laws and evolution. The law of biogenesis says you evolved from a rock. Not an ape-like creature, a rock. Chemicals washed off the rock into the pool, which eventually formed amino acids and proteins, eventually came to be something alive, which eventually became you. You evolved from a rock. The law of biogenesis says life comes from life, it never comes from non-life. You cannot hold evolution and the law of biogenesis as true. The law of entropy says energy is winding down. Order moves to disorder. Evolution says disorder moves to order. You cannot hold them both as true. The law of cause and effect says every effect must have a cause and every cause must be greater than its effect. You can't have a universe that begins out of nothing that is self-existent. And the law of cause and effect, etc., etc., etc. You cannot hold the laws of science to be laws and the theory of evolution with integrity. You can only hold them with hypocrisy, because you must deny the facts that are in your face. Do away with the laws. Go into your science classroom and say all the laws are wrong because of evolution. Or start looking at evolution in the light of the laws and decide which side you want to choose on. Because remember what I said in the beginning. Whichever side you choose, it is an act of faith. There is no absolute proof to either side. But if you want to have integrity, follow the evidence.
Wherever it leads.
Okay?
Any questions?
Craig, my question is,
And thanks for, by the way, having us.
why does it have to be either or? I mean, why couldn't it have been designed to evolve?
Because then you still have a designer, don't you?
Right, but I mean, you're saying evolution isn't true, so why couldn't it be designed to evolve?
All right. If you were intelligent enough to design this universe,
Mm-hmm.
from the astronomical to the sub microscopic,
Right?
and all the complexity that is in it, would you create a system?
Yeah,
Or
so
do you
we could
think you
adapt
would
to
be
its
able to,
environment.
do you think you would be able to create a system that will contradict itself?
With 90% extinction, this
It's
is the way to go.
internally
Not a psychological-
contradictory. The laws do not allow the evolution to happen.
That's a good point. The laws don't allow it either way. So
Therefore, you have an internal contradiction that cancels itself out. You would have nothing.
Which,
Question. Question?
Well, I have two. You mentioned 90%.
Well, if we go by the fact that the evolution, let's face it, what does the fossil record show? Stephen Jay Gould basically says we see two things in the fossil record. We